All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first educational webinar for United Spinal Association Greater Philadelphia chapter, the first webinar for 2026. We are really excited tonight to have Brittany Berman here with us. She'll be presenting on new technology in both manual and power wheelchairs and how to select a new wheelchair. So Brittany Berman is an advanced clinician at Jefferson Moss McGee Rehab in Elkins Park Outpatient Clinic and Wheelchair Clinic. She's been a valued member of the JMMR team as a physical therapist since 2018, bringing extensive experience and expertise to the Wheelchair Clinic, where she's been actively involved since 2014. Brittany works with patients across all diagnoses, providing comprehensive wheelchair assessments and mobility solutions. She has a particular specialty in seating and positioning for adults who have transitioned out of the pediatric system, helping them achieve optimal comfort, function, and independence in their daily lives. Her approach emphasizes individualized care, combining clinical knowledge with a deep understanding of each patient's unique needs and goals. Brittany, welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And just a little, and it was a great intro by Megan. And I just want to also give you a little bit of a why I love wheelchairs so much. We talk about our why in the outpatient clinic a lot, and I wanted to share mine real quick. I have a younger sister who is 33 now, and she was born with some physical and mental disabilities. And when I was first a very young PT, she had to go through wheelchair clinic, and I just saw what a difference it made for her life and my mom's life. And it just really inspired me to go down this path of specializing in wheelchairs. So I'm very happy to be here with you guys, and we'll get started. All right, so we're going to talk about new technologies in manual and power wheelchairs and how to select a new wheelchair. So just some definitions. When I gave this presentation a few years ago, I got a question at the end when I was talking about, K5 wheelchairs and group 3, just what the differences were with those. So that's what we're going to be focusing on a lot tonight. And so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page because I felt terrible that someone who was attending didn't understand from the get-go what we were talking about. So a K5 is that customized ultra lightweight manual wheelchair. So it's in this picture. And then a group 3 is a complex power wheelchair with power seating functions, such as tilt, recline, elevating leg rests, seat elevator, which we're going to get into. All right, so some of the things we're going to talk about tonight are power assist for manual wheelchairs, power wheelchair seating, the Tolt eye gaze system for driving, the rear camera on the Quantum power wheelchair, monitoring systems, the Jayco robotic arm, the Sunrise Switch A Control 5, the Roho Quattro and Smart Check, that's a cushion, and the Comfort Company Activac, which is a backrest. So we're going to start with power assist. So there are a few different types. There's rear attachment, front attachment, and then also power wheels with a joystick that attach to the K5 manual chair. With insurance coverage, typically with Medicare, you have to have your K5 wheelchair for 5 years, for 1 year with a K5, and then Medicaid programs and private insurances, they will pretty much cover these right off the bat. Qualifications for these are decreased propulsion speed, decreased endurance, and shoulder pain. When I do have a lot of videos, I'm very much a visual learner, so I just want to, instead of just talking about everything, show you guys. So we have, for the rear attachment, we have the Smart Drive, the Smooth, and the R90. These are all made by different companies. You can still go up and down curbs. You can complete wheelies. You're able to take these on and off the chair. So if you're not interested in keeping it on while you're in the house, you just want to use it in the community, you can take it off its bracket in the back of the chair and just store it. And these can attach to both rigid and folding K5 chairs. These are kind of like cruise control. So all you have to focus on is steering, just with your hand rims, and braking. And they're all just a little bit different in terms of what they use, whether it's switches or a knob, or the smart drive, you can use your Apple Watch or even a Google Watch. So just some differences there. And these are about like 13 to 15 pounds per device. So not too heavy, but you want to make sure that either you can handle it or you have someone who can assist you in handling it, taking it on and off. This is the mPulse R20. This is more of a caregiver power assist. It can be folded, which you'll see in the video, and it's compatible with most Tilton Space and K5 wheelchairs. All right, so as you could see in that video, it was just a very small wheel on the back, and then there was almost like an attendant control on the back of the chair that the woman, she was just pushing the button to make it go forward. So kind of, again, like a cruise control for her to be able to push her significant other easier. I have not subscribed to many of these. Just a few. They have gotten covered by Medicaid, so like your community health choices. So just something to consider if you have someone in your life that would benefit from that. All right, then there's the Rio Mobility Firefly. This is a front attachment electric hand cycle. So this is motor, as you can see in the front. So it attaches on each side of the frame. Sometimes this is covered by private insurances. This one's pretty fast. I'm pretty sure it goes up to like 12 miles an hour. So I haven't done many of these, but there is another product on here that has been getting covered by insurance, but this probably just isn't coded to be covered by insurance, but just something that's out there in the wheelchair world. All right, so this is the Key Mobility Twist. This is one of the newer, a very new product, just I would say within the last year, that Key Mobility acquired from Klaxon. It has three, and you're gonna see in the video, three different ways you can use it. You can use it like a rear attachment, like the Smooth, the Smart Drive, or the R90. Or you can use it as a front attachment, like the Rio flywheel. And then there's also a portion in attachment where you don't have to have the handlebars on it, and it raises your chair up just a little bit, like the caster's just off the ground. So you can use it that way. So I think the video does a really good job explaining it, so I'm just gonna play that. right, so you saw all three configurations for that one. So a lot of people like the front configuration because it'll lift the casters up, like I said. So you don't have to worry about going over curbs. Your casters are already lifted, and that big wheel in the front will just bring you up that little bit of an elevation. So it's good if you're going out more with, more walks, longer, longer distances, everything like that. A lot of people really like the hand control as well. It makes it really easy to maneuver. And then they were talking about going down speed. It's going to do that speed control. So if you're going downhill, it'll automatically detect that and it'll slow down so you're not kind of just like going all crazy downhill and it's hard to control and stop yourself and something happens to you. All right, so the M90, this is one of the newer power assist wheels with the joystick. There is the Alber eFix that's been out for a while, but this is Sunrise's take on it. So it's the wheels and the joystick. The batteries are in the wheels, which is different than the Alber, as it's a different battery pack that you have to manage. The wheels are 13 pounds each. So it's like a total of 26 pounds. And you can interchange your wheels with these wheels. With the Alber eFix, you can only use the Alber eFix wheel, so it makes your chair overall heavier. With this, you can change your wheels. So like your standard wheels that you have with these. The control is Bluetooth, which you'll see in the video. The woman will control her chair from the couch because she has the joystick in her hand because it's not wired. So I think that's a really cool feature. So when you say transfer into your bed or the couch, you can drive your wheelchair away from you so you have some extra space for yourself. This one's also covered by Medicaid, like a lot of the power assist systems are. All right, so as you saw, using the joystick off of the chair to move it is a pretty cool feature. You have an extra hand free to, move your luggage or anything else. Hold your partner's hand, just have another extra hand open. So just another cool piece of technology that's out there for power assist. All right, so now we're going to shift gears and go into power wheelchair seating for our group 3 power wheelchairs. Anterior tilt, this is available on Permobil and Quantum power wheelchairs. So the benefits of anterior tilt are to help with transfers and reaching forward and overhead. You can get a little bit of weight bearing through your legs with this as well, but it's not the primary reason for getting this. For 10 degrees of anterior tilt, it's no extra charge. It's not something you have to stress about. If you go up from 20 to 30 degrees, you do have to justify that. And then you will also get a knee block, as you can see on this picture, for safety, because 30 degrees is actually pretty, it's a lot. It's a lot, and you get a lot more weight bearing. in that position. And then power seat elevator. This has been around for a while, but the biggest news about this is that it is now covered by Medicare when justified. So this will assist with transfers, reaching, accessing tall cabinets and counters, high tabletops at bars and restaurants, being in eye contact with family, friends, coworkers, medical staff, and then improved visibility in the community. And you can still drive up to 3 miles an hour in this elevated position as well. And you can even still tilt and recline and everything. Standing. So the standing portion. This is available on a Permobil F5s. And you know what? I think they released it recently on the M5. So F5 means front wheel drive. So as you see in this picture, the big drive wheels in the front. M means mid-wheel drive. So the big drive wheel would be in the middle. So there's different turning with that if you're not familiar. This is harder to get covered. Sometimes it's covered by private insurance. You have to just be careful about what kind of backrest you have. If you have a molded backrest, you can't have this feature because the laterals would move and then you would be all off kilter with your positioning. And then if you haven't been standing for a while, you have to get approval from your doctor. Permobil actually requires this versus like companies like National Seating Mobility or New Motion. And I actually did a chair 2 years ago with someone who wanted standing, but it wasn't going to be covered by her insurance. So she actually went with the 30 degrees anterior tilt. She trialed it and she liked it. And she was like, yeah, this is good enough for me. I don't have to get all the way into standing, especially if, insurance isn't going to cover it. And, she didn't want to have to pay out of pocket for the standing feature. So just something to consider. For insurance coverage for any of these products, if you come into Wheelchair Clinic and you're like, I'm interested in this, and we look at we and the rep from the wheelchair company look at your insurance, we're like, well, this may not be a covered item per your insurance plan. You could pay for these things out of pocket. And if you choose to do that, I'm sorry if you're hearing my dog, he is very needy and just finished his treat. But if you choose to pay for something out of pocket, you just will be responsible for the repairs. And depending on how heavy of a wheelchair user you are and how tough you are on your equipment, it could add up. But it's always good just to come in and see what's available. All right, we're gonna go into wheelchair accessories. So Tolt Technologies. This is a different way to drive. So if someone can't use their hand or a chin control or a head array to drive, you can use what's called eye gaze. And Tolt Technologies, they have come up with this hardware that can go on an iPad and will integrate with someone who might also have a communication device that they have mounted to their power wheelchair. And so this is the actual screen that the person will use to drive. And so they have a sensor that goes up to their eyes, will go not up to their eyes, but that will sense their eye movement. And you'll see in the video that these arrows will get illuminated, and that is the direction the wheelchair will go. And you can, even switch to your power seating functions and to your communication device as well. And it's actually really easy to set up. I trialed this at a conference and it was like less than a minute to set up. It just like scans your eyes, you do a few head motions and like it's good to go. It's amazing. And so here's the video. And so you can see this person's wheelchair is pretty extensive with his headrest. He has an attendant control. He has a head strap. And you can see the arrow turns purple in which direction he's going to go. And then he's going kind of like diagonal. So you can kind of see how the arrows keep turning from blue to purple, which direction he's going to go. But they're able to maneuver if they weren't able to maneuver with anything else before. And then you can also see that's the kind of background of the screen is what she's seeing in front of her. So your vision isn't being blocked by your iPad. It's using the camera on the front to give you that display. I think she's pretty happy. She's probably able to drive. She might not have been able to drive for a while because of that. There's also a rear camera. This is available on the Quantum Power Wheelchair. You can mount it in a lot of different spots, so you're able to visualize it and use it. So it's 3.5 inches with a protective case, and then you can choose to have it on all the time or just when you go into reverse. I haven't done too many of these. When I did the last one that I did, I actually used it, ordered it for a young guy who had to sit in tilt for positioning purposes. So we actually mounted it on like the bottom of his chair so he could see what was more like in front of him. And it worked really well. So he wasn't like running into things because with being tilted back, his vision was more up and he couldn't see kind of like down around like his feet. So we were able to, so it was like just on all the time and we were able to mount it there. And it's also able, you're also able to use it at night and it's available with most of the bases that they have available for Quantum and their different power seating configurations as well. Right, monitoring systems. There's two out there. There's the Lucy system, which is this top picture. So the Lucy system has sensors. You can see where it's black. That's where the sensors would go. And this is a collision avoidance system. So it will stop your chair from colliding with things. So it looks out around you, but not like down on the floor. So that, and then there's the Braze system. So this is a blind spot monitoring system, and this will not stop the chair. So you have to be an active participant with this system. You will get alerts, visually, sound, and then also there's a vibrate option as well. There's like a little sensor that goes underneath your cushion, and it can go in the back of your chair and just monitor the back, or it could go all around, or you just go in the front. And then there's this little black box here. This is like your display with it. And it's just a pretty simple black display with arrows. And then also like squares telling you like how close it is. So kind of like with the car systems, it'll give you alerts on how close you are to something. But again, it won't stop you. So you have to be an active participant with this and be able to attend to it. I'm actually working with someone right now to see if this is an appropriate system for her. Coverage for both of these systems can be tricky. I've had people who have had private insurance or private funds pay for it, or someone who's involved with OVR, so the Office of Vocational OVR. Oh my goodness, vocational rehab. Sorry, get this covered as well. Next up is the Jayco robotic arm. This is pretty cool. I think this has been around for a while. I've just recently done a few evaluations for people to use this arm. So this is just like another hand that is attached to your chair and you can control it with your joystick and it can do so many things. Like I can't even begin to describe how independent people can be. So like I had to pick one video that I felt like showed as much as you can do, but there are so many other videos out there. Like this one guy's like gardening with it. Like he's picking up his watering can and watering his plants and he has SMA and he was never able to do that before because of his dexterity and his arm strength, and he was just being so independent. So let me play the video because this is a really cool device. I don't know if this one has sound. But so like opening a drawer, getting something out of the drawer. This guy's gonna shave his face. Or his head. That is one of the coolest new pieces of technology that I've seen. As you can see, like young guy was picking up those small blocks. It has such good dexterity, and you like switch between, what joints of the hand and the arm are going to operate. So you can really fine tune everything. But yeah, being able to like, give your dog a treat, being able to bring a drink to your face to take a sip out of a straw, pour yourself a drink, get something out of the fridge. It's just like opens up a whole new world for people who can't do that. Sunrise Switch It, Control 5. This is kind of like, hey Alexa for your chair. You can use voice commands for power seating function. So you go, hey Sunrise, like P1, and it would, tilt your chair. Say, hey Sunrise P2, and it would bring you down from tilt. And it has 10 seating functions, 10 memory functions that you can use. And you can even like set certain ones like, memory seating. So it will bring you to a certain position when you want to do your weight shifts or when you need to transfer into bed. You can set those so you don't have to, go through all the toggles and everything and all the buttons to get it like just right. And you have these, and then you can use your voice if you're, fatigued as well. So you can do buttons or toggles with this. This is only available though on Sunrise power chairs. So if you have a Permobil or a Quantum, I'm sorry, I am very doubtful Sunrise will release that kind of technology to those other companies. But if I've learned anything in wheelchair technology is that if one company comes up with it, other companies will probably find a way to follow and find their own way to do something voice command. The Rojo Quattro and the Smart Check. So the cushion, the Rojo Quattro, this is air cushion. It has 4 chambers instead of the Rojo High Profile, which only has one. So this can be locked in a certain position if someone has a pelvic obliquity, meaning their hips are, off or unaligned. If you have some scoliosis and one hip is higher or lower than the other, excuse me, or even if there's a hole in it, so that the air doesn't come out of all of the chambers. It might just, you can lock it so it stays in the other 3. And the Rojo Smart Check, this is a pressure gauge to ensure the Rojo is inflated as much as you want within a range. It can't be used with the Quattro though. And then you have to make sure that you order a Rojo that is sensor ready. And the Comfort Company Active Relief Backrest. So in the picture, you might be able to see the little knobs on the back. That's called the BOA Fit system. So you can adjust your backrest to support your upper and lower spine. So it kind of makes this like a molded backrest without ordering a molded backrest. So you can customize it to yourself. I really like, as you can see in the picture, like how the traditional backs are just flat. And so then you can get this rounding or you don't have support all the way through your spine. But then when you open up those BOA systems, it loosens the cables and then you can sink back into the backrest and into the system. And then you lock it. You tighten the knobs where you want them to be and put as much tension on those cables as much as you want. And then you just lock it in place. And you can be, if you tend to come forward, you can be a little bit more upright because you have a little bit more support at your lumbar spine. And again, it can be adjusted if like something changes or you're like, oh, I'm just not comfortable today. Can we just like open up the backrest and let me see if I can just shimmy back into it and be a little bit more comfortable. So it makes it a little bit easier for that. This is a backrest that I do order a lot for clients. So if you are interested in any of these products or features, make an appointment with your wheelchair clinic. There are so many therapists who do wheelchair clinic that we are so excited to talk about these features and products and see what we can do to make your lives better and easier and give you more independence. So if there are clinics at Jefferson, at Moss McGee Rehab, wherever you go, just contact them if you have any questions about where there are clinics near you. Start with who you get your chair from, New Motion, National City Mobility, ABET, Ocean Home Health, and they can tell you clinics that they, that are available if you need a starting point. Or, if Megan gives out my contact information, I can certainly help you out with that as well. Even if it's not, Jefferson, Moss McGee, I want you to get to the clinic that is closest to you and best for you. And then reminders, you can get a replacement seat cushion and backrest every 2 years. And by replacement, I mean like what you currently have, and that's covered through insurance. You have to call the wheelchair company that provides your chair, the vendor. So, New Motion, National City Mobility, ABET, Ocean Home Health, and tell them like, I want a new cushion, or I need a new cushion, I need a new backrest. It's been more than 2 years. They will not call you to remind you of that because that's considered solicitation and that's against the law by insurance. But if you call them, and then you can get a new wheelchair about every 5 years, or if there's a significant change in your mobility status or even weight loss or gain. So now we're going to kind of go into how about selecting a new wheelchair. So rule of thumb, I think for a lot of therapists, but everyone's different. If you haven't had any significant, and like your chair is 5 years old, if you haven't had any significant changes in your mobility or medical status, we're probably going to do something similar. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Let's make changes. If there's changes in your mobility or medical status, maybe we try a different type of wheelchair, maybe just a different cushion, maybe a different backrest, maybe some different accessories, like lateral supports or hip guides. So the lateral supports at your trunk, hip guides around your legs. And then if you've had a significant change, mobility or medical status, but your chair's less than 5 years old, We can maybe do modifications to your current chair to accommodate those. And insurance may come back and say, you know what, these modifications are too much considering how old your chair is. Let's do a new one. But we won't know that unless we see you in clinic. And so then just talking about power chairs, differences of, advantages and disadvantages of them. When you're deciding if you want to go manual or power. Advantages of a power wheelchair, you're going to have less propulsion related strains, so less maybe shoulder injuries, elbow, wrist, hand. You're going to have conserved energy, less fatigue, increased speed to get around, and then increased ease of getting over uneven terrain. And then disadvantages of power wheelchairs, though, it's more difficult to transport them. You can't just take them apart like a K5 and put them in the car. You either need to get a wheelchair van or take transportation. You can certainly look into getting like a hitch on the back of a car, but you have to have a certain grade, I think class 3 hitch because of the weight of the power wheelchairs. There is increased maintenance with a power wheelchair with all the batteries, the motors, the actuators, and there are increased costs. And then possible weight gain because you're not using your arms as much, not being as active, and then possible decreased fitness. But power wheelchairs are really good for patients who are at high risk for upper extremity injuries, who've had a prior upper extremity injury like a rotator cuff, maybe they live in a challenging environment, older age. So if we take those things into consideration. And then frame choices for manual wheelchairs. I mentioned, rigid frames and folding frames. So that rigid frame is one that does not fold in half. That's a folding frame. So it's a little bit easier to get into a car. You put in the back of a car, whereas the rigid, you can take the wheels off and it kind of stays like an L shape and take armrests off. But a rigid frame, they're typically less weight, where the folding frames are heavier. Durability is better with the rigid frame because there's just less moving parts. With a manual chair, with that cross brace, it just causes the chair to move a little bit more when you're pushing it. With propulsion, you're going to get more efficiency in a rigid frame because you're going to have less of that frame movement like I was just talking about. And then wheelchair skills for like wheelies, popping curbs, going up and down stairs. With less frame movement, it's going to be better, so you'll have better performance. But you will have a bumpier ride on uneven surfaces in a rigid because even though the folding frame, like I said, more moving parts, it absorbs some of that vibration, so you won't feel it as much. And then, like I said, about transportation. Anyone have any questions or comments?